I would do anything to help you get to this goal. I'm the perfect solution for you. It's going to be received completely different than I need to get you in here so I can close this sale. And it's one and the same. Believe me, I get it, right? You can help people and make money. We talk about that all the time. But boy, if you approach it from a place of, well, I'll do anything possible to help you, it's going to be received much better. What up, Matt?
Rick, I'm back.
I know we were joking before. Matt even pulled out the old headphones, which we don't even have to use anymore.
It's been so long since I did a podcast.
2001, man. We were the first ever podcasters.
Just a little busy.
That's right. We started before Joe Rogan. So I mean, what can you say?
Yeah,
he's done a little bit better with the podcast part.
Well,
I mean, he hasn't done shit with franchising.
He learned from us.
He did. When
is he gonna start doing dad jokes? Or does he already do them?
He doesn't do dad jokes. I mean, he ought to. That's what I'm saying. He's got nothing on us. Ultimately, he's got nothing on us. Speaking of, did you actually bring a dad joke?
I did.
Let's see what you got.
What is brown and sticky?
Oh, God. So many answers. What?
A stick.
Oh, dude. That's terrible.
It's a dad joke.
That's so bad. All right, so here's mine. I saw a man standing on one leg at an ATM. Confused, I asked him what he was doing, and he said, I'm just trying to find my balance.
I feel like I've heard you say that one.
I probably did. Oh, he's checking his balance. That's what he's doing. Hold on.
He totally screwed it up.
I screwed it up. Just checking my balance. Boom, boom.
Oh, my God.
All right, dad jokes aside. So we got a request. So shout out to the person that requested this. Actually, his name's Adam.
Terrible shot.
Shout out to the dude that I don't know. Adam Reese, that's his name.
Okay, very
He's like,
good.
hey, can you guys do a podcast on show rate? And so when you look at what does that mean? So when you look at our KPIs, our high-level KPIs, it's book rate, lead. So like you get a lead, whether it be digital, organic, referral, like whatever, right? So you get a lead, then you get that lead booked. And in this case, we're talking about not in a pre-sale, but with an open facility. So you book them to come in and see you for an appointment. For us, that would be called the starting point session. They show up for that first session.
Yeah.
Then the next metric is, did that lead show? Because you got the lead, you got them to say yes to book. Did they show up or not? Then the next KPI would be, what was the outcome of when they showed up? Did you convince them you have a solution to their problem? So in other words, did they purchase a membership, if that's what you call it, with you? And then the only other KPI we track really at a high level is retention, right? So it's like, already taking care of the flock. Those are our high level KPIs. Any fitness business that's boutique style like ours is probably the ones you should be paying attention to as well. But the request was specifically about show rate. Mm-hmm. So how do you get people that book appointments to show up to your gym? And I think it's a great question. And it's something that I think in our type of brand, which has the name of what we do on the front door, it says Alloy Personal Training. It's no mystery, and there's a pricing and service anchors. We've talked about this that come along with that. Closing someone, meaning they come into the gym, they sit down with you, it's at a very high rate brand wide, because the most difficult part is getting them to come in because they know what you are and they know what they're expected to make some life changes and all the things, right?
Yep.
And then getting them to show up. So between the time they said, yeah, I'll come see you, and the time they show up, there's no head trash or anything that's gotten in the way, or who knows, discussions they've had with other people about why they want to do this, whatever those things are, right? So, okay, check. Got that as well. Once they do all of that and they actually show up, close rates are really high in our brand and similar models to our brand. So close rate, not that hard. Book rate, one thing, show rate, another thing. So when I was asked about book rate and I brought it to your attention, you quickly pointed out that your show rate has a lot to do with how they were booked, right? So the way that you book someone has a lot to do with the percentage of those booked that will actually show up to your gym. The first obvious one that I had that I'll speak to, and then I'll turn it over to you for some of the nuance and the details, is a lot of folks on their digital marketing, so say it's Facebook, they'll have a mechanism on the ad where you click on it and then it has the ability to book what we call the starting point session in the ad. So it's somewhat automated, right? Without any conversation or whatever in front of that. That will, in fact, increase your book rate, but it will drastically decrease your show rate. And I think that logically makes sense in a brand like personal training. You've had no why discussions about why we're the best solution to their problem, right? It's very transactional in the way that it's booked. Right. And for the people that have tried that, we have as well, it just plummets your show rate. So I don't like it in the sense that it will jam up your schedule with a bunch of hopeful people that are coming in that you've never met, you've never had a conversation. There's no stickiness, there's no why behind what we do for them. And they're going to just be like book. And I mean, you know how Facebook is. I mean, the ads make it easy. It's too easy in some cases to be able to just like book without any kind of effort. And half the time they don't even remember that they booked. I mean, I don't know what they were doing in the middle of the night, but and they don't show up and you reach out and it's kind of like, I don't know who this is. I never booked anything with you. So I don't like an automated booking for the model that we have. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, for personal training, I mean, why do people contact personal trainers? There's some sort of change, right? Something's happened. There's an emotional thing that's like, I need to do something now, right? People don't just voluntarily change. So there's that piece. So in a personal training setting, you don't want automation to get a book rate because that's, like you said, is your show rate's going to go way down.
Right.
Because there's no human interaction, and that fleeting moment that they're like, I need to do this at 2 a.m. is completely just gone because nobody talked to them. Yep. So we choose not to. Our normal percentage for what we're looking for a book rate, we're looking for like 60% of those people to show up.
Okay, so of the people that said yes, 60% will show up to that appointment.
I've seen with the automated booking, I've seen under like 20% typically. So like that's all like right. A big the discrepancy, right? Like it's like, which one do you want kind of thing. So that's why we choose not to go with the automated.
Well, I think just when you look at the operational constraints of having a lot of people booked that aren't showing up because they're taking up spots for people that could show up, right? So it's like, I would rather book less. And I mean, we're going to talk about how to, you're going to talk about some ways to book. I would rather book less, but then have a higher show rate because that's just less activity overall.
Right.
It's almost like our entire brand is based on fewer high quality interactions versus volume, right? And low quality interactions. Like our churn is low, all the things that are around our brand that speak to higher quality, less interaction. An automated book mechanism would not speak to that. It would be in contrast with who we are.
Yeah, and like you said, like as time, like we're booking hour-long SBSs, right? We don't want to like have those filled up with people that don't show up.
Yeah, and then, for anybody listening who doesn't understand our brand, like we're not booking like come try a free class, and if you don't show up, it's just another warm body. Like we're setting aside an entire hour for someone to, peel the onion, take some again, tangible measurements on the way they move and what's going on inside their body, have some heartfelt conversations, make a prescriptive sale, convince them we have the right, the right machine built to solve their problem, and then we go from there, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big commitment to have, again, only 20% of the people that actually booked show up. That's a lot of wasted time because you will increase your book rate. So it's not only are you wasting your time, but there's more of it, right? There's more waste, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, to that, obviously, there's doing it well, right? And that's what it's like talk about.
Well, talk about that a little bit. So what things can happen in the book process that would increase the show rate?
Well, so say when we're booking, when we talk about, again, who we're working with, typically somebody getting personal training, there is a emotional something going on in our life to cause change, right? So one of our jobs is to get them on the phone and actually find out what they're looking for. Right. And what we call kind of diagnosing, peeling the onion, finding out their true why. And some people will like say, well, why do you need to do that? Just book them for an SBS. But if you don't do that, what do you think will happen to your show rate? If I talk to you very surface level and I tell you just a starting point session, do you think you'll be more prone to showing up and making change and doing something you're not comfortable with? Or do you think you'll be more inclined to do it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like much less inclined to show up. So I think what I'm hearing you say is on those calls, even if you get a call, right? But the call is the only purpose of your call is to set an appointment and you're considering that a win, you could inadvertently keep it very surface, almost bulldoze the candidate, right? By saying like, hey, hey, great, talk to you, personal training. Yeah, it looked like you reached out. Yeah, we're glad to get you on the phone. Listen, next Thursday, 7:00. Does that sound good? And they're kind of like, who? What? Okay, what? What are we doing? Like, and you might inadvertently get them to say yes, which to you is like you tick that box. You're on to that next call. Right. Nothing wrong with that. But again, if we're talking today about show rate, to your point, if you didn't peel the onion at all and explain the whys and really convince them that you're the solution to their problem, they may say yes because maybe they aren't in a position to say no. Maybe you didn't ask a lot of questions, so your energy was really high, which we love, but it's got to be directed in the right way, or else you could bulldoze them. They'll say yes, and then they'll just sort of disappear, which means they won't show up, right? Do you agree with that?
Oh, I mean, we've seen that, I see it a lot. I mean, it is people will typically like not do their due diligence and almost be lazy of like, hey, the first thing we do is do a starting point session. Are you free? Let's get you in. And people will just be like, yeah, I'll do it. And then just not show up.
Right.
Kind of thing. Right.
So your point is that peeling the onion, which is going to happen again in person, do that even on the call.
Spend an extra 5 minutes and it will drastically improve your show rate.
And in that 5 minutes, you are just going to peel the onion. You're going to ask what their goals are, and then you're going to talk about the solutions that you have to those goals.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it seems so logical, but
it does. But again, like a lot of people, they just want to get to it. They just want to get them booked because it's so much easier in person, right? That's everybody's kind of still. But it's like, well, you got to get them there. Right.
Right. So spend a little bit of time on the phone, peeling the onion, asking about their goals, make them feel comfortable because, there's all kinds of like types of people that are coming into our brand. They're either pretty self-confident and they already exercise, but they have an injury or something and they know that, hey, I want to work around this. Or we get a lot of people that have never worked out or haven't done it in 20 years and they are very low confidence. And so just bulldozing them with trainer energy, which is great. And you get them to say yes, but they're low self-confidence, so they say yes, but then they're not going to show up because they're already nervous, and they don't have. There's been no mechanism thus far that's made them feel confident.
And I tell you what, if you do a good job with that piece, like take your extra time, right? Actually, take a true interest in that person sitting across or on the phone with you, whatever, even in person, right? That actually makes your sales easier.
Right. Go figure.
Like I've had people many times that you've sent in over the years that like. It's not even sales. I'm just like taking them through the thing and getting them set up what they need. They're already bought in because they're
here to start personal training before they walk through the door. It
wasn't like just get them here and then I handle the rest.
When you think about then how that affects like after they show up, even all the way through to the close rate, right? Which is again predictably high in our brand, but if in fact you did all of that when they came in, you would be operating under the assumption that you had already had those hard conversations. You're going to do them again in person, maybe dig in a little deeper, right? Yeah. Maybe just reiterate what happened on the phone, which we're going to talk about that in a minute. Then you're working under the assumption that they are going to start. And I will tell you that if you are, every bit of your interaction that will ooze out, meaning like in your tonality, your body language, like all your assumptive language will come out, and all those things are subtle, but they all are wildly impactful to getting someone to say, okay, I agree, you can help me, right? But it starts with, again, we talk about what's branding or what's a customer experience. It starts from the type of ad that you run all the way through to 3 years later that they're there. The show rate is part of that customer experience. Yep. So make it a good one, right?
Yep. That's exactly right. Another thing in that call, and you talk about this quite a bit, is setting urgency, right? So a lot of people, again, people don't like change. Like they don't want to change. So you have to help them uncover problems and create urgency to fix these problems. So like if you want to lose weight, it's my job to kind of figure out why you want to lose weight and how it's affecting your life and to help you paint the picture of yourself of what happens if you don't do that. And if I do that well, I will create urgency for you to fix your problem, which will then motivate you more to get in to see me. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep.
Which we see that a lot where even if we are asking questions or two for some folks, there's no urgency where people will like, hey, I'm out of town this week for the rest. I don't have any time. I'll see you next week. Right? Well, if you take an emotional decision and don't create urgency and somebody waits another week, and we'll talk about how we can address that, but if we wait another week, how do you think that'll affect your show rate?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look, they're hot when they're hot. Like we always talk about that. Like we can put the right ad in front of the right person. The thing we don't know is what the right time is. And if that person's been sitting on the thought of getting to a healthier place for 10 years and they finally reach out, you better take advantage of that because the chances of that type of individual losing that motivation is extremely high. So you need to get it. Yeah, there needs to be some urgency. But the urgency, again, goes back to the initial conversation because the urgency has to be rooted in the absolute conviction to want to help the person in front of you. Right. Not about closing the deal. And they're one and the same. But if you're coming from a place of like, I would do anything to help you get to this goal, I'm the perfect solution for you, it's going to be received completely different than I need to get you in here so I can close this sale. And it's one and the same. Believe me, I get it, right? You can help people and make money. We talk about that all the time. But boy, if you approach it from a place of, well, I'll do anything possible to help you, it's going to be received much better.
Yeah. I mean, I always, like, you always tell me this is like, heaven forbid you help somebody.
Right.
Push them into getting better, right?
Well, I don't want to bother them. I'm like, oh, that'd be terrible. You bother them into getting to a healthier place. What a terrible person you are.
I've listened to too many sales calls, but I've literally listened to people like people don't like being salesy. They kind of feel like it's a bad thing, even though it's not. Right. They're like, I don't want to come across as too much of a salesperson. Like, you just let me know when you're ready. And I'm like, no,
They called. They haven't worked out in 10 years. Right. You don't think they're ready?
Help.
They're not going to be any more ready than they are right now. Your job's to push them over the finish line.
Right.
Yeah.
So create an urgency, peeling the onion, take a little extra time. If you take an extra 5 minutes and that improves your show rate by 20%,
well worth it.
100% worth it. So there's that piece. Now, the next piece, a little bit I just want to talk about is make sure that as a salesperson or your team in general, have availability for these people. I see this often too, where people kind of pigeonhole people like, I have availability Tuesday night at 8. Can you do that? And you could sometimes convince people to do it or to book it but it's so inconvenient to them that it ends up like blowing up in your face.
Here's the deal. So I'm going to sit in the seat of the potential client. Let's say I haven't worked out in a while. I'm low self-confidence. I really want to do it. You maybe don't do a great job. Let's say that this ends up in a no-show, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you didn't peel the onion. It was transactional. You felt hurried to get me to book, right? I don't know what's going to happen when I come in there. It's a scary place to me. I think I'm going to be sold I don't even know what I'm going to be sold, but I may not like it, right? It may not be the right thing. I don't want to say no because I'm a little bit intimidated to even make this call. It took a lot of, thought, time, energy, conviction to make this call. And you're trying to pigeonhole me into a time that I know I really don't want to do. There may not even be a conversation that would say, hey, this is not the time that you normally would work out. Don't worry about that. But this is the only time I have available, right? And we'll talk about maybe better ways to create scarcity. But if I'm on the receiving end of that, I might say, well, okay, right? Because I'm just thinking, well, geez, he's got a lot of energy. He wants me to say yes. If I say no, he's going to start hunting for other times. You start looping, right? You start spinning. You're spinning out. And so I might think to myself, well, geez, I don't want to go into this place. I don't want to work out at 8 o'clock at night. I mean, they don't know the business like right? So you got to keep it like dead simple. So to your point, book rate, I think obviously, even from a logistical, mechanical standpoint, if you don't have a lot of hours open to see people, your book rate will go down. But even if they book, especially if you're doing it in person and you're pushing them a little bit, which is a good thing in some ways, but if you do it and you push them into a spot that's just not desirable, they may not want to tell you no on the phone, and so they just don't show up. Right. I mean, they're not you, right? They're not wired maybe with the energy that you and I would have that would say like, no, dude, 8 o'clock's a terrible time for me. I'll never make it then. Is that when I have to work out? They're not going to ask those things, right?
Well, create urgency to get them in, right? We want this to, get them in the next day or two, honestly. Like, you don't want to wait 3 days, 5 days. And again, we'll talk about that. But then you have to be available as a salesperson, right? Like, whatever it takes, right? Like, if I had somebody like wanted to book a starting point session at 6 a.m., should I be like, I don't get in before 8?
Yeah, if you're in a time of growth and you need new members and this conversation's gone well, you need to get your ass out of bed.
Yeah, whatever it takes, right?
Right.
I mean, it's a small business. This is in personal training, it's whatever it takes kind of thing. So there's that. Now, after you book, right, if you do a good job, we are trying to get people to book in, shorter time frames. We don't want people booking way far out. But again, we'll talk about that. The next thing we have in place to help your show rate is we have in our system multiple automations and things.
Yeah, that's on my list. So let me grab it from there. Yeah, I'm going.
You ready? You always tell me you want me to talk, and then you don't let me talk.
Well, we tried it. I didn't like it. It turns out it was terrible.
I was actually on podcast suspension because I talked too much.
That's right. Like, he's finally back, and look at him. He's got to hog the whole thing by talking 10% of the time. Jeez, Matt.
This is what I do.
Stay in your lane, bro. Stay in your lane. Just sit there and look pretty. No, what was interesting is when we talked about this, when I got the request, because it's like, we've done a lot of podcasts. I'm like, hey, bro, what do you want to talk about? And there's like a million things we could talk about. But, again, lead, book, show, close, retention, those are always important. So it's like, all right, well, let's talk about, show rate because we had a request for it. It's like, hey, great. Probably a sign that we should do it. So I came up with just things that would help people show up. And Matt's like, hold on. The book side of it has a lot to do with the show rate. I was like, oh, so he handled that. And I had the same thing. You were starting perfectly. What I had just 3 things that increase, show rate. So for us, like, once it's booked, given you've done all the things that Matt just told you guys to do that are uber important, that will help you in your show rate, we have automated confirmation that goes out. And so tell everyone about the cadence of that.
Yeah, so our cadence is very simple. It's as soon as you book a starting point session, you will get an automatic confirmation text and email that will go out with your times and the address and all that stuff. And inside of that will be actual video of what to expect during that starting point session. All right, so we've created a video kind of showing them. I think you're actually voiceovering it and taking. I'm going through somebody, but they actually get to see what's ahead of them before they come in, which is nice, right?
Yeah, because I mean, again, if you're that person that's low self-confidence, or maybe you're just somebody who just wants to know, like, hey, what is this place all about? Imagine in your confirmation email for this appointment, there is a link and you can click on it. And we shot videos specifically for this reason to help increase show rate. So that people will say, here's what happens the first time you come to the gym. And it looks friendly, and it's Matt basically taking someone through like the starting point session, the different mechanisms, and I'm voiceover speaking about those things, just letting people know, hey, like if you're a advanced exerciser or what, I'm not saying this, but you can see it, right? So this is your response. You see there's like mechanisms and cool tools that we use. We also try to keep it friendly. So if you are that low self-confidence person that hasn't worked out in a while, it doesn't look like you're going to come in and do like a CrossFit class where you're just going to get killed, right? It's like, listen, if you're the advanced person, you're going to love the tools that we have. If you're really low self-confidence, this is all about you, right? We can keep it slow, and the video speaks to that sort of friendly manner, and we show all the steps of it. So it's like, all right, so confirmation emails go out, and in those first text and email that goes out right away is a link to what happens at the starting point session to bring down, to either A, be informational, or B, bring down any kind of fear that someone has. Now, what happens in automation after that?
So that's your immediate. And then depending on where you book, this may change. But then the next one, we'll have a 24-hour text email will go out.
Is that 24 hours before they're supposed to come in?
Before their appointment.
Right.
Right. And then in that, you should have kind of a reply yes or no, make sure we can confirm. And then the last one we have is an hour before their actual starting point session going out.
Yeah, and that's a lot. So you think about all that automation's going out once they book. Again, if the book rate wasn't handled right, it's all going to be ignored anyway. But if they are somewhat excited, they're going to have a chance to see what's going to happen the first time they're in. They're going to get lots of automation follow-up. And I had on my list a call to confirm, and that really is dependent on when, because Matt's like, do you really want to call them? Like, let's say you book them for tomorrow, and they're going to get an immediate confirmation text, another text, a text an hour before, and you call them. It's like, that might be overkill. It might. So use your best judgment. But let's say that you had someone who logistically literally couldn't be there because they're like, I'm leaving town on business or I'm headed on vacation. Let's go ahead and book out next Wednesday. And you want to get them to say yes. You don't want to be like, all right, well, call me when you get back and we'll figure it out. It's like, no, get the booking, right? If it was that far out, I would definitely do a phone call the day before, even though they're getting a text, and be like, hey, I just know you are I have here in my notes, you just rolled back in from Italy. You know, I'm sure you ate a bunch of pasta, so you can't wait to see me. Haha. So listen, I really look forward to it. I know you said you had some back pain on our initial call because, again, we peeled the onion a little bit, right? Like, just don't forget, no big deal. If you're back sore from sitting on the plane or whatever, we got you. I look forward to seeing you. And then I would add to that, you can create scarcity in that. You could do it in a friendly way, unlike saying, hey, the only time I have is 8 p.m. If they're already booked and they already said it was a good time, you can say, listen, if for any reason you can't make it, do me a favor. And do me a favor is a very powerful thing to say, because if you ask that of anybody, it's amazing what you can get people to do by saying, do me a favor. Even if it's like outlandish, they'll be like, okay, sure. You know, so do me a favor. If you can't make it, let me know. We're super busy right now. We're onboarding a lot of new people. It's a really, it's a time slot that's in high demand. I've got a couple of other people that would love to have it if you can't make it. So let me know. Otherwise, I really look forward to seeing you, man. I hope you had a great vacation, and I'll see you tomorrow at 7. If anything changes, let me know.
Yeah,
that would be awesome, given that, it's been a week or whatever, right? Now, you could argue you would do that anyway, but I think if you did a good job on the call, to your point, Matt, and you did peel the onion, and it's happening tomorrow or the next day, that's probably a bit overkill. I don't think you need to do that because they're going to get all those text confirmations. Do you agree?
Yeah, you don't want to do too much. I mean, people don't like being pestered. I mean, I don't know if you like, I'm coming, damn it.
Right. 3 minutes before. Are you here yet? I don't see you yet. I'm still waiting.
So that's automation. I was saying, like you said, if it's a longer period, I would add in a manual call for sure, just to talk to them, because things go sideways, or like, oh, I totally forgot. Just make sure reconfirm. Other small things that can't be automated is actually following up from things that happen on the call, right? So you may tell me stuff and we talk about nutrition or something. You want to be extra awesome, take that call and actually send them things pertaining to that, right? So maybe we talk about a nutrition or a vacation or things you're doing. It's like, hey, check this out. start reading this. This will help with what we talked
like
about.
a back pain article or a nutrition article or like, hey, how to stay healthy while you're traveling across Italy, whatever that, or here's 3 stretches to do in your hotel room that will help you from sitting on the plane because I know your back hurts, right? That stuff would go a long way.
Super powerful things. It can be automated. And if you do that, like I always tell people, immediately when you start talking to somebody, you're their coach. I know you just take that seat right away. You'll do these kind of things, right?
Love it.
It's like, hey, Rick, here's an article, right, that we talked about. So that's one thing. Another thing is like it can't be automated, but like based on the conversation that you have, I mean, like especially for our brand, we have all this stuff. Is send people like success stories of things that are related to them already. Maybe you have somebody that just went through the same journey. You had a success story. It's like, hey, read this up.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I was thinking after our conversation, I was thinking about you. I know you're getting bombed with text messages for confirmation. That's our automation. Great. Just listen. I plan on seeing you, so just bear with me. But I wanted to send you this article based on our conversation, or I wanted to send you this success story. I want you to read it because this person reminded me of you. They had a similar goal up front, and here's been their outcome. So it's just food for thought, right? And I hope you have a great time on your vacation, whatever that is. That's, again, I mean, if you think about the amount of lead flow that a 130 member model needs, those are the little personal things that will go a long way. I think when you look at like, just in the franchise system that we have, Alloy, like the ones that are killing versus the ones that are, in the middle, I think killing versus middle, it's very nuanced. It's the little things, like you said, that move that needle, that take you from, 120 members to 140 or something like that, right? It's just those little things. So
yeah, I mean, in our model, it's 130 members. We're looking to add, like if you can add, 15 to 20 people a month, that's a hell of a big difference between adding 10, right? So if you do a lot better job with those booking,
I mean, that means you're completely full 3 months faster, as an example, because there's not a lot of people needed in the model, right? Which I like. And so, and if you think about what we do, and even the customer service initiatives that we have on the back end, like Surprisingly Personable, we're buying personal gifts. What you mentioned about sending that article or sending that success story, or that's personalization, and that's on the front door. The more of that you can interject at the start, the better off you're going to be in your likelihood of getting that person to show up, getting them to sign up, and having them be a good client long-term, because you're showing them what personal training means, that level of care and coaching. To your point, you're always a coach, right from the start. Right? The customer experience has started already. It's not like, just get here, then we'll start. It's like, no, be their coach, to your point, right out of the gate, right now. I mean, we've talked about, some of the most successful sales, and I'm air quoting people we've had. One is Rami, which I know we hate to say good things about Rami because he says plenty of good things about himself. We don't have to normally. I know he's listening. So, but one of the things, like if you listen to his calls as an example, his superpower would be that he just really cares about people. Yeah. And even if they were like, "Oh, I'm too far away," he would then follow up and be like, "Okay, but still, I need you to do, like, for your goals, I need you to do this. Is there anybody in your area? Like, okay, we don't have an Alloy there. So, like, but you need to do weights, and then you need to walk more. And based on your knee pain, I would recommend this."
He's just trying to help you.
He's literally, his absolute raging passion is to help the person in front of him, even if it's on a phone call. And so if you have that, right, try to be less transactional, more personal, per the name of the brand, and do those little extras. So I love it, man. I think it's great. So I hope that helps. Adam, thanks for the motivation or the idea to just talk about show rate. I think it's part of a continuum, though. As you guys can tell, it's not just show rate. There are some mechanisms in there that can help, like the video and the confirmation and a personal call. But to Matt's point, man, you got to be a trainer. You got to be a coach out of the gate. You got to really care about people, right?
Yep.
Anything else you can add?
No, man, you did a really good job today.
Thanks, Matt. You did okay too. I mean, I think I'm okay with you speaking a little bit more, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, give us some feedback. Probation. Give us some, and you're out. Yeah, give us some feedback. If you enjoy Matt's voice on an audio podcast, let me know. If not, we can have him be here like Silent Bob.
I'm really busy for the rest of the month.
Okay. He's self-selecting out. All right, guys. Appreciate you. Peace.
See you.